So, when we last left off, we had Peter Parker meeting Gwen in the park for this ice cream cone, and Pete gets the news that Ben has passed from Aunt May, and he collapses. Here we begin. We'll come back and do a little bit of the talk about the art stuff. I think we'll do that in a little bit, but let's go through the story first. So it begins with a double page montage, which is just showing, you know, the aftermath of Ben's passing and Pete in school being comforted by his friends. There's Harry, offering condolences. Mary Jane, Pete's going through it. His best friend Elliot closes the locker, and there's Gwen. So it's a rough time in his life. At the residence, him and May coming home from what apparently is the funeral. And she's telling Pete here that he doesn't have to spend the night, that she's going to be okay. And he says he planned on staying anyway, don't worry about it. And here's a little point that begins. I mean, Ben went saving lives. That's important, a true hero. Right? Look at this. So the official story is that Ben went out as a hero, saving lives in this industrial accident and fire. So if we back that up a bit, this is a clever moment where Victoria, the evil Victoria, is saying, well, don't worry, I have a story worthy of your trash publication. I think you will like what I write for your last words. And although he's saying his own thing here, she's already planning on how she's going to cover this story up and explain what happened to him. And it's pretty interesting that she's going to write a story about how, this ending occurred for him. And is what's going to be known as the official story to cover up his passing at their headquarters. So the story that she wrote for him, or at least they're telling the people and the regular press, is that he's a true hero. And then Pete is noting how his obituary, which is the story about, your life and times, it got better placement than his actual stories. And that's a pretty interesting thing to have happened. And then May takes a nap, exhausted, just takes a nap. And this is Pete in the room, which is the room he grew up in as a kid. So don't forget, he's got, this is his room here at Aunt May. You could tell they gave him a lot of space. They love the kid. This is them raising him as though he was their own. And he also has the new apartment that you've seen him that has all the speakers in it. So he's going to stay here with Aunt May for the night, and he's just sitting down, laying down on the carpet, thinking. And a spider pops out. A little bit of foreshadowing, I guess you can argue. And he hears music from downstairs. Music's going to be very important for this series. We're going to weave a lot of music throughout the series because it's important. Sound is very important to this story. And he hears music, and he comes out, and he sees Aunt May holding a picture, the same picture, and, playing old music. And he has a thought back, and she says, the event gave us the gift we couldn't make on our own. And it's interesting. So what they meant was they couldn't have a kid of their own. And then when May's sister passed and they adopted Peter, that became their child, So they considered him like a gift and a blessing, even though there was the terrible event that changed the entire world. And then, Pete's very sorry he didn't take that call, didn't pay attention, didn't really listen. It's a very sad moment for him to just be so isolated in this. And now the aftermath. So the building looks like there was some sort of industrial accident, caused this explosion, the one that, shook things up during the interview. So we now get to see a little bit more that the building took some kind of damage, which is still a mysterious event. And of course, this is Mendel Strom. This is obviously a future character that's going to have importance. But right here, he was just, a lab sort of consultant. And now here he is, sort of worming his way up the ranks by basically becoming another attachment to this Victoria. This is her now in her own corporation. So the official news story is that maybe they were attacked by the terrorists or something happened, and they're trying to look sympathetic as if, they're being the ones attacked. And he says apparently Dr. Octavius survived the attack. I believe the loss of his daughter has finally broken him. He took some unknown tech. So in the lab explosion, horrific that everything is destroyed during that industrial accident, but he takes some stuff with him and he's carrying some things. So something's going on, but despite having some injuries, he's still working to get some stuff. We don't really know what it is. So they say, well, she admits that they already put him down as dying in this accident. So now the thought that, the evil Victoria has is to say, well, what do we do now? We already reported him dead. What now if he pops back up, saying he survived? We already did this whole cover story. So now she basically answers, we make the story true, which shows that now there's some foreboding tidings for what's going to happen to him in the future. Apparently, he's going to be the target of them now. This is a bit of a weasel, but, he's kind of sold out to the corporate engine for his own ambitions. He's making his little moves here to become someone significant. But, she's very keen. As evil as she is, she's rather keen, and she's already, has a side eye on him already on what he's up to. And I believe that's it for this week's upload. I believe we stop here. So this begins issue 3 of the Dynamic Spider-Man Plus. Opening shot. This is basically, you could argue, the cyberpunk futuristic version of a Spider-Man story. So he's going to have a few more gadgets that do some pretty cool things. The cityscape, this is another true 3D model that all of this was modeled. It's a giant map that's just compressed and brought in on top of itself with the extra little light reflections added in as detail. And he's basically sliding out on the side of a building to get this angle. So I just tilted the character backwards over the city to sort of make this angle. This is post-work, post-processed. A little painterly effect. This is actually a real set that, we'll visit the front of the apartment complex, the brownstone, really, the futuristic brownstone. Eventually, when you see bigger shots of, you'll see that the top of it isn't quite like a regular brownstone, and you'll begin to see a lot more of the futuristic architecture, because they did rebuild the world trying to simulate what it used to be to make everyone more comfortable, but they did do some new additions. If you're going to rebuild it, they're going to add some modern touches to it that advances it a little bit more into the future. Star watching. This was a little tough shot, trying to get this light to stream through here, because there actually wasn't a wall outside of this. So this is fake scaffolding that I had to pull from another building and place it outside his window, which is obviously facing the back of the brownstone. There's fire escapes everywhere, which, is sort of normal. But for this to pull this off with the light coming in, it just wouldn't light right. I spent forever trying to figure out, what we can do here to give the effect that I want, where we don't want it to be this stark shadow, but at the same time, we do want it to be lighter outside. Because, again, this could be like some sort of neon thing going on. It could be light from another building. I don't want to just strongly suggest it's just this incredible moonlight. But, yeah. And, of course, the spider, which is important. Some people thought we were going to do him getting bit here, but no. This isn't that scene. This is just an actual spider he will, eventually have an affinity for. Or foreshadowing. His childhood pictures. So apparently, a lot of things that Pete did when he was a kid is still around. You know, decorating the place like it matters. His presence mattered. And also, there's little hints of this that Pete is into some of the old technology and does some things on his own. There's a very, I don't know what to call it, but the kids of this time is really into collecting old technology and making use of it. It's like you could argue, I guess the hipster thing to do is to get your hands on some of the old tech and tinker with it, you know, flip it into something, use it, multi purpose it. But that's a big part of what the kids are doing in this time. Yeah. So, you know, our future Dr. Ock is up to something. You know, he's not done yet. He's not done yet. So this is slowly beginning to heat up. A lot of foundation being built, but that's it. It uploads on Thursdays and or Fridays. I don't know. We'll see what the feedback is for this. We'll make decisions on if we need to accelerate. I'm comfortable with the 1 week. But this is the Dynamic Spider-Man Plus, an IP expansion, created, written, illustrated by Drew Spence from the Dynamic Universe. And that's it for this week. And I know the book has a mature rating, which is a little strange because, you know, the violence is tempered compared to what I've seen in mainstream versions of this stuff. So I found that a little strange that right out the gate, I have the mature rating. This book isn't rated. 4.6 is. My other series is rated mature. It has the content that matches that rating. This doesn't, so I'm a little surprised. I don't know if it's just a hyper real look of the book that they felt this should be slotted in mature. I mean, it's Spider-Man, for goodness sake. So I found that a little off-putting, but you know, maybe they know something I don't know. But the book, you know, does have action in it that ramps up, but none of it is beyond peril that you've seen before. So it's a little, you know, that's a little concerning. But other than that, I thank you guys for the support, and I will see you in a week.